It was a trip on a river cruise, basically, but it was a pre-cruise as well as a post-cruise itinerary also. The river cruise entitled from Budapest to Prague, to Nuremberg, and then we spent 3 days in Budapest, as well as at the end we went from Nuremberg to Prague and spent 3 days there. But in between we went from Budapest down the Danube River and hit many of the little cities along the riverside into Austria and into from Hungary to Austria, Austria to Germany, and then Germany to Czechoslovakia, or Czech Republic as it's called now. The pre-cruise was in Budapest and spent a few days in Budapest, which is a wonderful city. Budapest is, a lot of people don't even know where Budapest is. It's in Hungary, and but everywhere in Europe is very close by. So the borders Austria. So we were in Budapest, but across the river basically was Austria. And we spent 3 days there, and it has a bit of an Asian flavor to it also because of the Mughals were coming through in Europe. One thing in Europe I find is that you're very interested in art, music, and in their food too. And the food, of course, is excellent. Hungarian goulash is very famous, as well as paprika, which is the main staple of Hungarian food. But the art is very different, and the people there are very different comparatively to the rest of Europe, it seems like. So it was very interesting in that respect. I think they call them Magyar, the Magyar tribal group. So there's that underlying current that's melded in with the European stock. So they're a little different. But but I found that in Budapest the attitude was much more relaxed as compared to Prague. Prague, a beautiful city, and that's where we ended up. Beautiful city, beautiful views and all that, but I found that was very crowded as compared to Budapest. Prague, everyone where you turned around was a tourist, versus in Budapest there was a little bit more breathing room in regards to meeting the local people and seeing how the local people actually live and work. The boat was 177 passenger and a very, I guess, maybe 10-year-old ship, the original boat. In fact, the original boat which we were supposed to go on was the Panorama. It's an Avalon Waterways ship. Was not able to meet us in Budapest because the water was too low. The water was too low, so they couldn't get into Budapest. So we had to go on their second ship, the Tapestry, which was a little bit older, but which was very nice. And we went from there nearly all the way to Nuremberg before we found out that the water was too low for Tapestry to pass through a certain lock because the water was very low. So we actually bussed over a 2-hour trip to join the original boat that we had, the Panorama, and join that. So we had a choice of, a flavor of both ships. One was brand new, just 6 months old, the Panorama, versus the Tapestry was about 10 years old. One was very modern, the Panorama, very, very up-to-date, very Euro bent, and versus the Tapestry was more old school, but both very comfortable. I liked both, but some I preferred more than the other in certain respects than the other. Like, I felt the food on the Tapestry was a little different than the one on the Panorama, but other than that, both very good. And the good thing about a river cruise versus an ocean cruise is a lot of your shore excursions are included. There are optional ones, but you don't have to take them. The ones that you do on shore are basically, a lot of them are very, very good. And the walking tours as well. It allows you to be parked in the city too, versus like if you're used to an ocean cruise, sometimes you park far away in a port and it takes a long time to get into the city. In a lot of cases, because you're a smaller boat, you're right in the city, or the docks are very close to the city, so you can visit the city on your own, even after the tour or after dinner if you want to go out. But the rooms itself, probably very similar size to an ocean cruise boat. But of course, they don't have a huge theater, but they do have an open area for bar and lounge, as well as the the area where you're dining and all that is very similar, but of course not to the same scale as an ocean cruise, because when you're comparing maybe 2,000-3,000 customers versus one that has only 177 customers. But the good thing is that you get to know your fellow passengers very well, because there are 177 of them, so you can get the mix very well. As well as you get to know your waiter and that very well, because they usually multitask. They're not only your waiter during dinner time, they're also serving you in the bar at nighttime too. And the Budapest, I felt the food was very good. Austria, Vienna is the capital of Austria, very much into art and music, and their pastries are wonderful, and their coffee is wonderful too, Viennese coffee, their coffee shops. We were able to go to one they call the Soccer Hotel, which is very famous for the soccer torte. It's a kind of a chocolate dessert, and then they have a Viennese coffee that they mix with whipped cream and coffee. It's called melange coffee, which is just out of this world too. It's only served, seems to be, in Vienna. They're very famous for that. And so we also had a concert there with music. And so music is very much, Vienna being the capital of a lot of composers, and Mozart as well as Haydn and a bunch of others. So they have music there all around, as well as a very arts scene there. So Vienna being the capital of Austria. Very clean, very much like Germany, where even the sides of the river, you could tell that you're coming into Germany and Austria, everything's so manicured. So that was wonderful too. Prague, for a different reason. We went in Prague off-season, which is great in one respect, because Prague has so many crowds during the summertime. The bridge, the Charles Bridge, which is very famous with the statues along the edge and also have a little musicians along the edge, is so super crowded in the summertime that you can't get to see them. But a little bit off season was wonderful, because you know, you just had to dress up a little bit because it was a little cooler. We were very fortunate having no rain, and we were able to enjoy and hear the music along the riverside as we walked through Prague. And Prague is beautifully architecturally, and of course there's many things to see there too. But it's a little more touristy though compared to Budapest. That's why I kind of prefer Budapest in that regards, but Prague has a lot to offer also, as well as their food is very reasonable as compared to the rest of Europe, let's say France and Germany and Italy, is much better pricing. And Budapest even lower pricing than I felt Prague. I like the central market in Budapest, as well as the museums there, as well as the concert halls. You must take in a concert music hall in Vienna, because that's what they're very famous for. And Prague, I probably would pick, we're going to see the opera. That was a very highlight too. The opera was excellent. It was playing Nabucco, and the opera house was gorgeous. The ceiling was just unbelievable how well it's done, and the seating on the side where people stay is unbelievable. They have a lot of mirrors in each of the areas around where the people sit along the side in the little upper balconies. And an anecdote that people say is that, what are the mirrors for? And it was in the old days, people used to be seen. The social scene was to be seen at the opera. And so the high-class people, or the rich people that would be able to buy these opera seats, wanted to be seen by the local people down below. So the mirror is there so that people can actually see who's in the box. It's not for them to see out. So that was kind of different. But anyway, that's one thing that you have to see. I think it's a natural step from an ocean cruise. If you've traveled the ocean cruises quite a bit, or you know, if you've been to Europe on an ocean cruise before in the Mediterranean, well, you can only go through the ocean ports usually to see things. The river port, you got to remember, like the Danube River was a big trade route, one of the bigger rivers through Europe. So the Danube River was a trade route, and so therefore a lot of major cities were along it. And it's not accessible from an ocean cruise side. So it's a great way of going, again, to be very efficient. While you're sleeping, you're traveling, right? And when you wake up, you're in another city. And then you have you know, guides that are right from that area that take you out and show off their city. So it was a great way to travel. And the food was very safe, very plentiful, and you know, they gave a lot of lectures on board in regards to what you're expecting to see, and the guides were all excellent, and the service excellent too, just like on a cruise ship.